Hey guys, nice to see you. This video is gonna be very different from what you normally see on my crazy diary. This is not comedy, so that's why there's no funny intro today. This is the first video I'm really nervous making, and I've been debating now for so long if I should make it or not. But I decided to make it. Today we're gonna talk about something very serious. Today I want to tell you my personal Me Too story. Because yeah, I have one. Yeah, surprise, it's not all rainbows and butterflies in my life. I mean, it is. Oftentimes it is, actually, because I believe it depends on your perspective, on your outlook on life. And I would say that my outlook on life is very positive. So oftentimes, a lot of the time, my life is really cool. I would honestly say that. Or I make it really cool, you know. But it doesn't mean that nothing bad can ever happen to me. And right after I moved to LA, something really bad happened to me. And that's what I want to share with you today. Because I want you to see that my life is not always butterflies and rainbows. I want to be authentic with you guys. And I also hope that sharing my story might help other people who are in a similar situation right now. And I hope it might help everyone else to learn from my mistakes. Because I would say that honestly, I was very naive. And I wish I would have made some decisions very differently when I look back now. I've also been very reluctant making this video because I know that for many of you, my channel is a happy place. And it is also a happy place for me. It is a place to have fun with you guys, to connect with you guys. And I appreciate all your funny comments so much. And I don't want to take that away. This is still gonna be your happy place in the future. And it is also my happy place. And I don't want to take that away from any of us. But just today, I want to talk to you about Me Too. And I will try not to cry today. I will try my best, but it is a very emotional story and it's very scary. Shortly after I moved to LA, I got into a situation where I had a stalker. A stalker who harassed me in a sexual way and who made me feel that I had to fear for my safety. Yeah, that is basically what happened. And I just want everyone to know this video contains some dark content, some graphic content. So if you're triggered by the mentioning of stalking or sexual harassment or assault, please stop watching now. Go and watch one of the funny videos. Okay? And I promise to everyone else, next week we're gonna have a funny video again. Actually, I've been filming a lot of funny stuff lately for you guys. That's gonna come out very soon. So just that you know that. Today it's gonna be serious and sad and scary, but I think it needs to be said. I feel now that I'm finally ready to share this story with you. And I also feel that the 8th of March is the perfect day to do that because that's the International Women's Day. A day dedicated to women's rights. And I think that's, for me, now the moment to share my Me Too story with you guys. The months of October and November of 2018 were basically hell for me because of my stalker. And back then, end of November, when I was at my lowest point, I would say, I decided to make a video. I sat down basically like this on the floor, but I was really sick when I did that, and I sat down here and I told my story. I told my story to the camera, but not with the intention to ever publish it. It was more with the intention to have a testimony and a video that I sent to my friends. I sent this video to some of my closest friends, so that in case that something happens to me, they have proof, they have evidence, and they can go to the police. That was the purpose of making this video that I made in late November. And it was also for me like a kind of therapy, because it felt good to tell the story, to kind of get it out of my system. And I actually felt a lot better afterwards. Also because I had this kind of, I would call it a safety net with my friends, that they had everything. They had a picture and name and address and all information of my stalker, along with this video that I made in November. And so I felt a lot safer that my friends can send it to the police if I do not check in with them at least once a day. And now I decided to share parts of this video with you that I made in November. that I made to feel better and to feel safer. And I want to do that also because I want to show you in what a bad place I was, and I want to show you what stalking can do to you and what it did to me. And I want you to know that I am okay now. I am good again. It's still sometimes a little bit scary, but I feel good again. I am okay again, and I'm happy again. If you are coping with a situation like this right now, I want to show you on my example that you too can be okay again. And that's why I decided to make this video. That's the main reason. Because in the process of all of that, there were some brave girls and women who approached me and shared their stories with me. Stories and experiences that they had with the same man who was stalking me. And that made me incredibly sad, of course, that they had to go through this too. But it also helped me a great deal to see that they got through it, that they are okay again, and that they got out of it. And another reason why I was reluctant to make the video is also that it happened at the theater where I booked my first acting job. And I didn't want to harm anyone. I didn't want to harm anyone's business. And I didn't want to harm my fellow actors who worked there. And now this theater, this playhouse, was closed down. So there's no business to harm. You know, the big scary thing for me about sharing a story like this with you guys is the fear that you might see me different afterwards. That you would see me as, oh yeah, that's the stalking victim. That's the almost rape victim. But that's, I mean, yeah, I am that, but I am Kati. I'm a comedian. I am myself. I'm a hippie girl. It's not all that I am. That is something I went through, but I am here and I'm alive and I am happy again now. All of my close friends know. They've basically known it since it happened because they were the first ones I turned to for help and for comfort. And I know that my close friends would never see me different after knowing that about me. Because I think that's the beauty of a real true friendship or a good relationship, that you can truly be yourself and be authentic with each other. And your friends will not judge you or reduce you to being a stalking victim. And I just trust you guys that you won't see me differently. Because I mean, of course, for a comedian, it's a scary thing that your audience, your fans, the people who like to watch what you do will see you as a tragical character, you know. But maybe I am that. I mean, you know, Carol Brunette said that. Comedy is tragedy plus time. When I tell you my story, I will also leave all names out. And I have a name for my stalker, but that is not his real name. Yes. Yeah, I guess we can get to the video from November now. And please, when you watch this, keep in mind, hi, I'm here, I'm alive, I'm okay. Yeah, first of all, today I'm sitting on the floor with my pillows. That's because I'm sick. Normally I don't get sick at all, but when I'm really, really stressed over a longer period of time, I get sick. And that's exactly what happened during the last few weeks. A lot of stress. Honestly, the last 6 weeks were more like hell. Oh yeah, and by the way, you can see I'm different today. That's not only because I'm sick and because I'm stressed. That is also because I am right now taking pretty strong painkillers. I normally don't take anything at all. I don't even drink alcohol. And the thing is, when I take something, it has a really strong effect on me. And now with the painkillers, I feel almost a little bit sedated right now. But I think that is probably exactly the right state to make this video, because maybe I can manage now to tell you without freaking out about it. Only that, you know, right now talking about this, it makes me feel like I'm going back and forth between two extremes. One of the extremes is that I just want to cry and freak out. And the other one is that I feel like frozen up inside. I feel like I don't feel anything anymore. I promised to myself that I want to try not to cry in this video, because I'm done crying. I cried enough about that. And I don't want to be a victim anymore. I'm sick of crying. I'm sick of being scared. And I hope when I get this out here and share it with you, if I dare to do that in the end, I hope that it will get better then. Okay, there's this guy who is harassing me, threatening me, and stalking me. Let's just start at the beginning. Okay, this is what happened from beginning to end. I will try to be more collected now. Look here. Sanity in a cup. Let's see if it helps. As you know, I moved here at the 31st of July / 1st of August. And I even made a video about my first week in LA. And there I mentioned this party. And exactly at this party, I met this guy. Oh, let's call him Frank. This is not his real name. And just to make that clear, I don't want to harm anyone with that. And that's why I'm gonna leave all the names out. I will change names or leave them out completely. Let's call him Frank. That is not his real name, but we're gonna call him Frank because I don't know. I know some nice people who are called Frank, but they live in Europe and you pronounce it different over there. So I now feel like choosing the name Frank because I don't know if you noticed that, but in a lot of horror movies and scary movies, the most scary villains are called Frank. Like in Donnie Darko and Blue Velvet, and there are many more. And that's why we're gonna call him Frank today, for the purpose of this video. I met Frank in the first week of August, like a few days after I moved here. I was introduced to him by a mutual friend from Finland. And this mutual friend, when he knew that I'm gonna move to LA, he got me in touch via Facebook with Frank because Frank said he could help me to find an apartment in LA. So I started writing messages with Frank on Facebook. And Frank said that he might even be able to rent a room to me, to be my landlord. I met Frank for the first time in person in the first week of August, a few days after I had moved here. He invited me to a barbecue party he was hosting. And I thought it is good because a party is like a safe environment to meet someone I had never met in person and to see if this person could be my landlord / roommate and to see the room that he said he could rent to me. And at this party, Frank was super nice and super kind and he seemed like a great guy. I think I wasn't very objective from the start because I really value and trust this mutual friend from Helsinki who had introduced us. And so I just assumed if a nice guy that I trust introduces me to someone that this guy, in this case Frank, would also be a nice, trustworthy guy. Yeah. Turned out, no, he wasn't. The party was nice and I met a lot of nice people there. And I even, as I told you in another video, I met this really great girl who helped me to get this apartment this year. So it was all good for something. And that's why I also felt gratitude. I felt very grateful towards Frank because he had invited me to his party and there I met the great girl who helped me to get this. So I think you understand that. And then I saw Frank again a week after the party in mid-August because he called me if I want to come over with some other people and eat like the leftover food from the party. And since it was nice and I thought I might meet the nice girl and some other nice people from the party again, I went there. And the other reason is that Frank also told me he was very sick and he could need my help to clean up some things. And so I went and there were only two other people besides me. It was all okay, he was still super nice. He asked me to help him because he's so sick and he told me, later the other guys left and I was alone with him and he told me like, he talked about our mutual friend and he talked very positively about our mutual friend and we talked together positively about our mutual friend and it was kind of bonding over that. That was a very clever move on his end. And then he told me that he was very, very sick. And then he told me all the details about how sick he was. And we were talking about physically sick. He didn't mention any mental illnesses. So I even helped him because he was sick. I helped him cleaning the apartment and stuff like that. Because I don't know, when someone is sick, I come from a hippie family. I come from a Christian hippie family. That's the way I grew up, that you help if someone is in need. And most of the times in my life, I honestly did not regret that I helped someone. And it was also then when Frank asked me if I could get him backstage tickets for a concert. for a concert here in LA. And since he was so sick, I felt really sorry for him. And as I said, I felt grateful for him for putting me in touch with this girl who got me the apartment. And so I did it. He also said he would know the band. He told me that he knew the band. A little note, guys. Frank told me that he would know a lot of celebrities and important people. And when he asked me to get him backstage tickets for the concert of this band, he claimed that he was an old friend of one of the band members. Of course, I asked the band if that was true. And they said, nah, old friend, not really. We were partying with him once, many, many years ago. But he was kind of funny, and if you want to, you can bring him. And so I got him backstage tickets for a concert. And we went there together. And also that was still pretty okay. I mean, he wanted to have guitars signed and records and take pictures and yeah. But I know that these guys, this band where we were, they are very kind and patient guys. And I told them before that this will happen probably. And they said it's okay. And they were signing guitars, signing records, and taking pictures with him. After that, Frank wanted to invite me to some events because he said, I'm such a good person. He said, oh, you're such a good person. And I want to show my appreciation. I want to thank you because you got me backstage to the concert. And since I still thought he was a nice guy, there were 2 events I attended with him. And it was okay. It was all pretty okay. And so I didn't think anything of it. He started saying like, wow, you're such a good person. And I told our mutual friend what a great person you are and how happy I am that he introduced me to you. Yeah. And he literally said, there were other people there, I have witnesses. He literally said like, Kati, you're such a good person. You're such a great person. And I would do anything for you. Let me know if I can help you. And then in September, I booked my first acting job. I got cast in a play in a theater here in LA. As soon as Frank found out, I promoted it on Facebook, and as soon as Frank found out that I was cast into this play, he immediately messaged me. He even wrote it in the Facebook comments, and he called me and he said, please, 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 can you talk to the director? Can you talk to the producer? Can you please get me a part 2? It would mean so much to me, and I'm so sick. I'm in such a bad space right now. I'm in such a bad headspace. I'm in such a bad point of my life. It would mean so, so much to me if you could get me a part. And then I said to him, okay, can you send me a resume and a headshot so that I can take that to the producer? And he said, oh yeah, I'm a bit behind on that. I don't have a resume. I don't have a headshot. And that should maybe have been a red flag. And I should have said, yeah, then please get these things and then I can do it. But he was begging me so much. So, stupid, naive me took a picture from his Facebook profile, like the most neutral one that I could find, and I sent it to the director. And I talked to the director of the play and said like, hey, this guy, I met this guy, he's a new friend. I don't really know him that much, but he really wants to be on stage. He wants to be here. And he told me actually that he had done acting before. I should have just checked that. Because if you look him up, you cannot find any credits. So you can find 1 credit. But I think he did just a lot of extra work, background work. Yeah, stupid me went to the director and convinced the director to give him an audition. Then, at the audition, Frank was late, half an hour late. And I talked to the director, was already a bit pissed, and I was so like, oh, poor Frank, because he wrote me a message. Can you please tell the director that I'm never late until I am dying or in hospital? And then I wrote back, oh my God, are you sick? Where are you? Do you need help? Because I thought he was in need. I thought he had an emergency. No, he just wanted me to tell that to her. He was fine, he was just late. I found that out much later, by the way. So the director gave him a chance, gave him a second audition even. And it already started getting weird then, a little bit weird, because he started posting on Facebook, oh, I got an audition and I got this and this. And the director was so impressed by my really good acting education, and nothing of that was true. It was just that I went there and said, please give this guy a chance. And the director liked me. That's the thing. She liked me and she liked my acting, and then that's why he got the chance there. And since I convinced her more because I was so sorry for him, he got cast into the production. So that's how Frank got in. And then from this point on that Frank was in the production with me, he started changing totally. It was gradually. In the beginning it was still kind of okay, and he still wanted to invite me to some events to say thank you for the backstage ticket for the concert and thank you for getting him this job. It was already getting so weird that I said then I proceeded always to say no if he wanted to invite me, and I was really, really kind. I was saying thank you so much, but I don't have time, sorry. Because I didn't want to aggravate him, because I already got really bad vibes from him. And as soon as Frank got his part on the play, because of me, as soon as I got him this, and we were working together, his behavior, especially towards me, changed gradually. First, he wanted to spend time with me after the rehearsals every time, because I had rehearsed for this play for a few weeks at this point before I brought him in. There's this really sweet actress, and we were hanging out after the rehearsals together. Sometimes we made it a habit to grab a drink at Starbucks or to grab some little snack somewhere and just to sit together and talk and go over lines. And I really enjoyed that. And after Frank got on the play, he insisted on always coming with us. And I talked to the friend. She said, okay, why not? And we were like friendly about it. And then one day happens, we have also male castmates. I talked to one fellow actor for a little bit longer after the rehearsal, because we just had met, because they were rehearsing at different times, and we just had our first rehearsal together. And I started talking to some male castmates. And then he started getting more and more passive-aggressive towards me. Frank started getting somehow, I would say, almost jealous when I was talking to other castmates, especially male castmates. Then he got really passive-aggressive, but also female castmates. I met an actress who was in a different production, and we were talking because we thought we want to work together. We had some ideas, she's working on something, and we want to work together. And so I talked to this actress after the rehearsal. And we were sitting down together and talking outside the theater. And Frank was really pissed that he didn't have my full attention anymore. And while we were talking, me and the actress, in the middle of our conversation, he pulled up some picture on his phone and held it between us. Here, check that out. You have to see this. And like this, waving it just between us, between our faces. And we just ignored it kindly, because we didn't really know how to react to that. We said, oh, yeah, very nice, thank you. And then started to continue our conversation. And after that, Frank started getting more and more passive-aggressive with me, because he seemed to be really jealous and angry that he didn't have all of my attention anymore. That was also the time when Frank got more and more demanding towards me. And by demanding, I mean that he frequently asked me to get him backstage tickets for concerts. You know, I'm a music TV host, I know some people, but I don't know everyone. And after how it was when I took him to this one band, of whom I know that they are very kind and very patient, I didn't know if it's okay for everyone if someone comes and wants to take a lot of pictures and have a lot of records signed and guitars signed. I knew that it was okay with them. I had the chance to ask them beforehand, and it was okay, but that is also a reason why I could not just get him tickets, even if I might have been able, you know? And he got more and more pissed when I said, sorry, I cannot do that. I don't know anyone who could get you tickets. I have no connections to this band or to this musical act. That was that. And the thing that was even worse, I should have mentioned that sometimes, because Frank told me that he's so sick and he has no money to pay his medical bills. And that's why he needed the guitars, to like signed guitars, to sell them off in an auction, to get money for his medical bills. And I was just so sorry for this guy. And so, yeah, that's how it all happened. And I also, the 3 times we met after the party, sometimes I paid for lunch. I paid for food, because he said, like, I'm so hungry, I don't have food, I don't know what to do. And I felt sorry, and so I paid for his food sometimes. And I think that's led him to believe that he can get much more money out of me, because he really started demanding money from me. And I said, hey, I'm a little girl from Europe. I just moved to LA. I am not rich. I have a really, really small, sweet, cute, but small studio apartment that I manage somehow to afford. to pay my rent for. And that's true. I'm really not rich right now, guys. But he then proceeded to tell me and demand from me to ask my quote-unquote rich European friends to give him money for his medical bills. Yeah, no joke, unfortunately. And by rich European friends, he was referring to the band I had gotten him backstage, because he assumes that they are rich and that we are so close that I can ask them to give him money. Really. And then I already started to regret that I took him backstage there. And even, I think you understand that even if I could, if I would have friends who might make some money with their artist work, I could not just go and say, hey guys, this guy that I don't really know and this guy that you don't really know wants me to ask you to give him a pretty big amount of money. Could you do that, please? That's, that's not how that works. And that's not what I do. I was never, in my whole life, I asked any one of my friends for money. My best friend, let's say, my best friend Maria Teresa, when one of us is like a bit tight on money, then the other one pays for dinner, and the other way around. That's a different thing. Or like you can borrow a friend $20, something like that. That's a different thing if I borrow one of my best friends $20 or they borrow me some bucks. That's completely different. And after that, Frank got more and more pissed at me, and he got really aggressive. At this point, still verbally aggressive. He yelled at me during the rehearsals, because I avoided every contact outside the rehearsals. So he used the rehearsals to yell at me backstage when the director couldn't see him. He started yelling at me, and then he got physical. That was the moment in mid-October when he got physical. He pushed me multiple times. I was standing backstage, really behind the stage, waiting for my cue to get on stage, and he had to go past me, and he really it was, he didn't really hit me, but he pushed me. It was really like a push, a noticeable push. And he did that twice. And he looked at me in a certain way so that I knew it wasn't an accident. And after that happened, after he pushed me, after he got physical, I waited for Frank after the rehearsal. And I tried to talk to him, only me and him. I waited until we were alone. And I said hey, what's going on? Why are you treating me like this? Can we please be kind with each other? I don't know what's going on. I don't understand this. And then he got really aggressive and loud with me. And I found out that in his mind, he was blaming me for his problems because, that's really bad. He said to me, and he said that later on multiple occasions more and more clearly, he said to me that it would be my fault if he gets evicted and if he dies, because I refuse to ask my rich European friends to give him money. I contacted the director, also me and her, a female director. I contacted her and said hey, can we talk? And then I had a phone call with her the same night, mid-October. I told the directress I don't ever want to ask her to fire him. I just want to ask her to talk to him to stop doing this. And I think she didn't really take me for serious because nothing happened. She was friendly on the phone, but nothing happened. Nothing was done about it. The directress basically told me there's nothing she can do because she didn't see it. It was also during this time when Frank started to bring gifts for the director every day. He was late for almost every rehearsal, but he always came bearing gifts for the director. Sometimes he even brought gifts for different castmates. He did basically everything to be the teacher's pet, I would say, to be her favorite, to be the director's favorite. And I don't know if it was because of that, but she never followed up with my call. She never addressed it. She never asked me if something changed, if it got better. But I guess she was also very much caught up in her own work of directing. And from then on, Frank started to sabotage my work. We didn't really talk to each other anymore. I was just nice small talk, hello, goodbye, of course, because I wanted to do anything to keep an okay working atmosphere, or to get back to an okay working situation for me. Then came dress rehearsal. That's the last rehearsal before the show, and we have all our dresses, and it's very important. And he proceeded in sabotaging my work. He did anything to sabotage my work because he knows how much I love acting and how much that meant to me, because that was also my very first acting job that I got for myself here in LA. During the dress rehearsal, I was filling in for someone who wasn't there, and so I had a scene with Frank. Normally we didn't have scenes. I have great scene partners, and I'm very, very grateful for that. But that day I filled in for someone else who wasn't there, and we had a prop that both of us had to touch. It was a stick. It doesn't really matter, but it was a stick, and we both had to touch it and hold it. I had at some point to leave the scene with the stick, with the prop, and he just didn't let go of the prop, so I couldn't leave the stage when I had to. And then the director got angry at me. She was really pissed at me because I messed up the cue. And when she got angry, he gave me a really, I would say, a sinister grin. It was sinister, I would say. And then he let go of it and I could leave the stage. But he wanted to make sure that first she got angry at me. Since I didn't get help, I still tried my best to just keep up my work. And it was also around this time when Frank started constantly joking about rape and sexual assault. And that did not only make me very uncomfortable, but also many other female castmates. He did that really at every opportunity during every rehearsal, multiple times. And I will say later more to that. And maybe that's important to note that at this point we have a great cast. I'm not part of it anymore, but there were a lot of great actors. I like all of my other castmates. I loved my part. It was a really, really cool part. It was a cool play, and I loved all of my other castmates. And that's why I had thoughts if I should drop out. But of course I didn't, because I thought, how dress rehearsal, it's not possible to drop out like one day before opening night. And I worked for it hard. We all worked for it hard for some weeks. And so of course you want to perform. I mean, I'm an actress, I want to perform. And opening night was kind of okay. He still made rape jokes all the time, to a point where me and other female castmates after that didn't dare to use the dressing rooms anymore to get changed, because he did that in the dressing rooms. He also took pictures in the dressing rooms and filmed in the dressing rooms, what is strictly forbidden by the theater, because people get dressed there. And that's why then from then on, after opening night, none of me and of our other female castmates did get changed in the dressing room anymore. We always went to the bathrooms. After the opening night, Frank threw an after party. And guess who was the only one who wasn't invited? But I still tried to play cool about it. I mean, of course it hurt me because I liked my other castmates, and I got him this part. And I was the only one who wasn't invited. I tried to play cool about it and nice, and I said like, okay, have fun. Because I noticed that, I knew that at this point, that he was trying anything to start a conflict, to get into a screaming match and to start a conflict with me. And he was also pissed that it didn't work. And then I just left. And I went actually to grab some food with another new friend who was coming to watch the show. And and I know that he was just looking to start trouble with me, because he did the next day. If you're an actor in a theater production, you have to promote your show to get people to the theater. We had prior taken some pictures at a rehearsal, some group pictures that are meant to be for every actor to promote the show. These pictures are promotional pictures that are property of the theater. Since I have a camera, a good one, this one actually, I offered to bring my camera so that we can take the pictures with my camera. And then I worked on the pictures, picked the best, and did some color correction and stuff, and sent it to everyone in the cast so that we all can use it to promote them. And that's what I did. Before opening night, I took one of the group pictures and I turned it into a nice flyer. I put some fonts in with like, hey, opening night, big day, and the name of the play and everything. And I posted that all over my social media. By the way, it's deleted now because I don't want anyone to come after anyone. So because of this video. So I took it down. And then it turned out, I noticed it the next day, that Frank had taken this picture and copied it from my Facebook, this flyer that I made with a special font and stuff, and put it all over his social media. I don't mind. As long as the show gets promoted, I don't mind if he does that. That was another attempt for him to start trouble with me, to start a conflict. I didn't react to that, but one of my friends did. And she posted that this picture was originally posted by me. And then he got really, really super aggressive. He started threatening this friend of mine on Facebook publicly, and he started threatening me on Facebook publicly. It's still so like, I cannot comprehend that, and I don't want to read that out here, but basically he attacked my friend and accused her like of being my agent and of using things. He somehow, I don't even know how that happened in his head, but he came after my friend. He basically threatened her and me, and threatened to sue her and to sue me because I used his image in the picture without his permission, and he didn't sign a release, and he threatened to sue me publicly. And he wrote even worse stuff to my friend, and for some reason he was assuming that this friend is my agent. What she isn't, of course. He could just go to my website or everywhere on the internet and see who my real agent is. He threatened to sue us publicly, and it got really bad. And what he also did, he was Facebook friend with the director of the play, and he tagged the director in the comments in which he was threatening me and my friend publicly on Facebook. Because he wanted to get me into trouble. He wanted the director to see it. Yeah, but there was no reaction at all from that, actually. After he threatened to sue me, you can change pictures in a Facebook post. I put a smiley emoji over his face and then re-uploaded the picture. So that I thought maybe then he will be appeased then. And I even wrote him a nice message on Facebook saying, I really don't understand what the problem is, but I hope it is okay for him like this. And if he wants something, he can talk to me and not do this kind of stuff publicly on Facebook. And I really wrote it very nicely with the intention to calm the situation down. But I think he felt that because I didn't get an answer. But what I got was, it was also the same night when Frank sent me some threatening text messages. He basically wrote something along the lines that I am making him my enemy, and that I'm really working for that, going out of my way to make him my enemy, and that that is not a good idea, and that he won't be kind about it in the future. I got really scared at this point, and I blocked him. I blocked his number, I blocked his email, I blocked him on all social media. And I also talked to the owner of the theater, not the director, the owner of the theater. He told me that they had already seen it because he tagged the director. So they had already seen that and said like, yeah, don't take it for serious. He can't sue you. And I mean, I know that he can't sue me because this is property of the theater. This is promotional material, official promotional material. But it still scared me that he uses this as an excuse to come after me. The theater owner also said he cannot really do anything about it and I should just ignore it. Yeah, and then there were also multiple people, maybe you have guessed that by now, what Frank's motivation might be, because there were also multiple people in the cast who worked there with me and with Frank, saying that they believe he had a crush on me, and he got this aggravated and angry and is coming after me because he is so disappointed and hurt by me not responding to that in a way he wants, like, dating him. I'm gonna tell you, that's what the theater owner said to me, quote unquote, was, "You're the pretty girl he couldn't get." and now he is behaving like a man-child. And I would say I believe that's true, but it still doesn't help because he's threatening me. It doesn't take away the fact that he is threatening me, and this is much more than being a man-child to me when I get threatened. But actually, unfortunately, that was only the beginning. And by the way, Frank is 50 years old. I also want to say very clearly that I was just kind, but I made very clear that I am not single. I never showed any interest to him. I was friendly, and I tried to be a friend because he was sick and because I trust and value our mutual friend, but I never ever showed him any sign of like that there could be anything possible between us. From then on, we were supposed to have a show once a week, one evening per week. The rehearsals were luckily over now. Sorry, I had to take a break again because that's when it got really scary for me. Because after these kind of threats, I was scared to go to the theater again. But I knew we had a show 6 days after that. And I was really scared to meet Frank again, because I thought he would yell at me, he would come after me and start some shit. And I mean, when you want to perform, you have to focus before to be good on stage, to be your best, to give your best on stage, give your best possible performance. You need to focus before. You need to focus before you go on stage. And I was just super scared. I was sending WhatsApp messages with Maria Teresa for 2 hours before the show, just to calm down. And I was hanging out in a cafe because I didn't dare to go into the theater. And there were some nice castmates who said they are going to meet me there. I don't have to go inside alone, but they were not there yet because I was early. And then I was hanging out in a cafe and getting like exchanging messages with my fellow castmates when they will be there so that we can go inside together, because I was scared to meet him and scared to go into the theater alone. At first, Frank didn't talk to me at all. He just ignored me. And it gave me actually hope that it could be okay and that I could get through all of these shows and maybe even enjoy it, what was the initial plan. Of course, I love my work and I want to enjoy what I do. He started at some point, always right before I had to go on stage, he started to come after me. And he was saying my name over and over again like a broken record, while joking about rape and sexual assault. And he also proceeded then to wave props in my face. He found somewhere backstage a doll, an old creepy looking doll that had only one eye and was broken, and he had the doll on one foot, like head down, and he waved it in front of my face, always right before I had to go on stage, and he was blocking my way so that I couldn't go on stage. So I had to somehow get past him and tell him to let me go on stage. And now you can maybe imagine that that is hard then to focus on your work right before the scene, when you have to have a certain focus and emotion to play your scene well. Yeah. I think I managed somehow to be okay on stage, but it is still so, it is just so mean to do that, because he knows that's the one thing I love. And I got him in there. All of this behavior of Frank got worse and worse and worse with each show that we had. The rape jokes got so uncomfortable. It was like maybe like 20 rape jokes per night. I mean, the rape jokes were bad enough. And as I told you, that oh no, maybe I have to address that now. Sorry, this is really hard, but Frank knows that this topic, rape and sexual assault, is a very sensitive topic for me. Because it was in Switzerland in 2016. I almost got raped. It was only almost, that someone tried to assault me sexually. And I'm just lucky that I could get away. It was what you would call in a movie last-minute rescue, because someone was there to help me, to rescue me, but the situation was I think I say it now because I will probably not make a video about that ever, but this man who tried to sexually assault me in Switzerland, he had already pinned me down and he had his hand where it didn't belong. And then luckily there was someone who got him off me, and I got out of that. But it was still really one of the most terrifying experiences in my life. And I feel so sorry for all the girls, women who had to go through this. Sorry. And who were not as lucky as I am to get away. And I'm incredibly lucky, I know that I got away. And I think that is one reason, because there are people who didn't get away. This is one reason why you should never, under any circumstances, joke about rape or sexual assault. Never, ever. And a very important note, this man in Switzerland who tried to do that to me, he was not part of the entertainment industry. All the television and movie and comedy producers I worked with in Switzerland were all great and 100% professional. Just to make that very clear, the man who tried to do that to me was completely unrelated to my work. Maybe you wonder now how Frank knows that. Why does Frank know that something like this happened to me? Yeah, to answer that, we have to go back to the party in August. I talked to one of the girls and we somehow got into the topic Me Too and about these horrible things that can happen. And she told me something very personal that happened to her. And I told her that I can relate and that I'm so sorry and that I can relate. And in this moment, suddenly Frank was there. And he listened in, he had heard that. And I think he listened into a lot of things because he wants to use it later. And I wasn't aware of that back then, but Frank was behind us suddenly and he had heard it. And he was like so sincere when he said like, oh, I'm so sorry. I think no one should go through this. No woman ever should go through this. I wish I could have done something. That's what he did. And that's how Frank knows that rape and sexual assault is a very sensitive topic for me. His rape jokes also made other actresses so uncomfortable, as I said, that we all decided not to get dressed in the dressing room anymore because he was there. And on top of that, he was filming and taking pictures in the dressing room. And so we went to the bathrooms to get changed. And a few minutes before the show, I went to the bathroom. Actually, I was already changed. I went to use the bathroom. And Frank followed me to the bathroom. And he proceeded to stand in the door, outside in front of the locked door. And he proceeded to say my name over and over again. And he also said, I know where you live. And he didn't stop and he didn't let me out. And I was close to freaking out because I knew I had to be on stage. And then I realized that he had to be on stage before me. And so I was just hoping that he will go away because I had nothing. I didn't have my phone. I didn't have my phone. I just wanted to use the toilet quickly before I didn't even have my phone. I could not have even called for help because I didn't have my phone. Yeah, and that night it was really, really hard for me to get it together to perform. Then, of course, backstage again, I was just trying to sit there peacefully. Rape jokes all over while saying my name like a broken record the whole time. Again and again. It got so bad that there were some nice male castmates who were kindly trying to tell him to stop. But they knew he would freak out. He would start a yelling match. He would do something that he would probably lash out at them if they say too much. So what one of my very nice male castmates did to help me, to try to protect me, was whenever Frank came close to me, he positioned himself between us. And also 2 of my female cast members did the same. They always tried to kind of be between me and him so that he couldn't get too close to me. But that didn't keep him from blocking my way when I had to go on stage. At that show, he even followed me backstage, right next to me. Before I had to go on stage, he said, "You will be replaced. You will never work again." And I found out after the show that he had brought in another actress from Germany to introduce her to the director, in case that someone needs to be replaced. Yeah. But that was still nothing in comparison to what happened at the next show. And when I tried to talk to the theater owner about the fact that Frank had locked me in the bathroom and about the rape jokes and all of that, when I wanted to enter his office, guess who was there? Yes, Frank was already there, and he had brought some friend with him, and he was sitting in there crying. And I just left, but I heard some words before I left. He said something like that he would be dying, and I heard my name, and I heard something like I cannot concentrate, and I don't know exactly what he said, but I have the suspicion that he was blaming me. And I only heard also something like money and rich European friends. And so I assume that's only an assumption that he talked about that to the theater owner. Yeah. That I basically don't want to save his life, that I let him die because I don't ask my friends for money for him. So the reason why I suspect that Frank said something like this to the theater director is when I came back another day, one day later, to talk to the theater director about that he locked me in the bathroom, or trapped me, you know what I mean? He blocked the door so that I couldn't get out. When I tried to tell that to the owner, he listened to me, but he said there's still nothing he can do because he's scared that he will quit then, and that he's just a man-child and immature, and he's acting like a man-child, and I should just ignore it. But he then also asked me, is it true that you have rich European friends? Yeah, because he told me that the theater could also need some money. Yeah. At the next show, 1 week later, Frank proceeded to waiting for me outside the theater to threaten me. He said to me, and I quote, "I know where you live and you will regret this." And maybe you're wondering now, why does Frank know where I live? And we go back again to the party in August. Because there I met this great girl who helped me to get this apartment, and she showed me. She told me where it was, and that's how he knows, because he was joining our conversation and he said like, "Hey, let me pull it up on Google Maps. I want to see if the area is safe because I want you to be safe." And that's why Frank knows where I live. He basically knew it before I even moved in. Yeah, also that same night, during the show backstage, his rape jokes got so bad that I just felt I can't take it anymore. And of course he was blocking again my way on stage. After that I told the theater owner that I am really scared. I'm scared to come to work. I told him right before the show already that Frank had just threatened me, and he always just said, "Let's talk about it after the show." And I said, okay. And when I tried to talk to him after the show, because it got so bad, he again did this, you know. He said there's no proof and there's nothing he can do, and he would be scared if he says too much that Frank then will quit. And I would have really wished, I still asked him only to talk to him to stop that, and not to fire him. I asked him, "Can you please talk to Frank to tell him to stop that, stop the rape jokes, stop blocking my way on stage, stop harassing me?" The theater owner said, "I cannot do anything because you don't have proof." And then multiple of my castmates were speaking up and saying, "No, we witnessed it. He's doing that, and he has been doing that for a long time." I actually even have a recording of Frank joking about sexual assault while saying my name over and over again. after it had gotten that worse, and I told everyone that I was scared to come here, to work here. And one of my male castmates even proceeded to call Frank. Frank had left at this point. He started the conflict, and then after that he left. And so one of my male castmates called Frank and just tried to tell him friendly and calmly, like, hey, when a woman says no, it means no, and stop treating her like this. And I'm just so grateful. This male castmate called Frank and tried to tell him friendly and reasonably to leave me alone. And Frank just started yelling and insulting him and hung up. And then my castmate called him back and started yelling at him and telling him to stop that. And then Frank said, insulted him again, I think, and said just he won't come back again, and he hung up. And after that also this castmate informed me, and my other castmates informed me, and one of my sweet female castmates gave me a ride home because I was really in a bad state. And there was actually like an open stage thing, some other like thing going on that one of my other fellow castmates organized, and I was supposed to do a comedy gig in there, but I was really not in a condition to do that, unfortunately. That was the very first gig in my life that I ever cancelled. Yeah, and I mean, she asked me spontaneously, and she was very understanding when I gave her the message that I cannot do it that night. But yeah. When I talked then to my male castmate, he was sure that Frank will not come back, and I thought I might be safe. And I thanked him for everything, for standing up for me and for trying to protect me. And then one day later, I got the notice from him, also and from some other castmates, that Frank will come back. And after that, I was just too terrified to meet him again, to go there again, go to the theater again, because I knew he was aggravated now. And I don't know what he would have done. I am still scared of what he would do. Since the last thing he said to me, like outside, since the night before, outside at the show, when he threatened me outside the theater, he said, I know where you live, you will regret this, and I have nothing to lose. And that made me really, really scared. It still scares me right now, because he really knows where I live, and I actually don't know if he is really close to dying. I would not wish that upon anyone, but I also don't really get it, that someone who says that he would be dying has so much energy left and can make so much effort to do something like this to other people. And I also really, really cannot comprehend that, how someone whom I have shown so much kindness, whom I have gotten this job, who I did many nice things for him because I wanted to help him in his bad situation. And I cannot comprehend how he can harm me like this in return. And he threatened me multiple times to destroy my career. As a little note, Frank often told me that he would know a lot of celebrities and important people, and that he can even help me with my career. And then when it started to turn, when his behavior started to change, he threatened me that he will destroy my career and he will make sure that no one will ever work with me again. Like in the style what you hear in movies, almost comical. You will never work in this city again. But back then I was so scared that I believed that he might even really have some power and will really try to destroy my career. I mean, he did what he could, I guess. And I also know that this is my fault, that this is on me, because I brought him in. I brought someone that I don't know into my work. I got this person that I don't know a job in my place of work. And in the end, it was not only me who had to suffer from that, but all of us, all of my fellow cast members. And one other actress quit because of that too, even before I did. Oh, guys, yeah, now I'm crying. Sorry, I just cannot keep it together. Maybe I should have taken more painkillers and then, yeah, but yeah, now you know. Now that you've heard my story, yeah, the worst part's over. Now I would like to come to the educational part of this video. What did we learn today? What can you learn from my story? What did I learn from my story? Yeah, this is funny again. Do you know this list of the top 10 most useless superheroes? There's one guy on this list called Hindsight Man. And Hindsight Man has a helmet with 2 rearview mirrors on his head, like this. And Hindsight Man never helps anyone. Hindsight Man only comes and tells you what you should have done better in hindsight so that you wouldn't have gotten in this situation. And now I would like to look on my story from the perspective of Hindsight Man, together with you. I would like to tell you what I would have done differently in hindsight. Yeah, I was just very naive. I was way too naive when I came to LA. And I don't know, maybe you guys even noticed that when you watched my videos that I made when I had just moved to LA. I was just completely in love with the whole situation. I was in love with being in LA, with my whole life situation, with the fact that I am in LA and I have a work visa and I can work here and all these great opportunities. I was completely in love with my life situation. And I am now again, actually. But I try not to put on these pink glasses all the time. You know, I don't know if you say that in English or in other countries too, but in Germany we say that when you're in love, you see the whole world through pink glasses. Yeah, and I just try to take off my pink glasses every now and then. But besides that, I'm again in love with my life. Yeah, but because I was so much in love with LA and my life situation, I was just super naive. I was basically like dancing around and like, yeah, everything is so great. And I didn't really see all the pitfalls and dangers that you have to face when you move to a new country, to a new city, to a place where you've never been before in your life and where you don't know anyone. Let's start with one of the biggest mistakes that I made. I met someone and I knew this person for a few weeks and then I got this person a job. So I basically got someone that I didn't really know a job. And not just any job, a job in my workplace. That was not a good idea and I would not do that again. And there were also some other red flags that I just didn't see. And I don't know why, because now when I try to be like Hindsight Man and really look back, honestly, I should have seen them. There's this guy, Frank. He's much older than me and he suddenly wants to spend a lot of time with me. And he tells me he doesn't really have many close friends in LA. And that's why he wants to spend time with me. Because we have a mutual friend and because he thinks that I'm such a good person. That should have been a red flag for me. Because this guy lives in LA for, I don't know, 25 or 30 years. And he tells me he doesn't have any close friends. And he wants to hang out with a new girl all the time. Yeah, that should have been a red flag. Another red flag, a big one, is why does someone who has been in LA for so many years and should have his own connections and everything, why does he need me to get him a job? And if it would have been true that he knows all these important people, all these celebrities, as he says, why can't they get him a job? Or why can't they just give him the money that he needs? Also, big red flag, but I didn't see it. I didn't get it back then. Another thing that I wish I would have handled very differently is the whole situation with my employer, with the people who were running the theater. The situation or the behavior of the theater owner and the director. When I look back now, I am very, very disappointed with the director. She's a woman. Where's the solidarity among women? When I, as a girl, come to the director, who is a woman, and ask her for help because I am sexually harassed in my place of work, and she didn't do anything, she just turns a blind eye. This is really not okay. I am very, very disappointed by her behavior. And I am also almost shocked. It is almost comical now when you really look back at it. I mean, the whole behavior of the theater owner. Shocked is the right word, shocked by the behavior of the theater owner. I came to him, I told him all these things that were happening, and he just tells me, I can't do anything? Seriously? Someone gets harassed in his theater and he cannot do anything about it? No, really, seriously? And I mean, on top of that, he asked me to give him money. I went there in tears. I was shaking. I was really, really scared. And he tells me, oh, sorry, I can't help you, but can you give me money? No, really, seriously, that's almost comical when you look at it right now, right? And actually, the most disappointed in this context, I am by my own behavior or by my own decision to stay in this situation for so long. I mean, of course, I was having all these positive feelings and compassion for my castmates, and I didn't want to bail on them and like have the show cancelled or something and have them suffer from my mistakes that I made, from the mistake that I brought Frank in. But I just shouldn't have stayed in this situation for so long, because it was, to be honest, unbearable. And maybe it wouldn't even have gotten that bad if I would have just walked out of there much earlier, if I just would have quit much earlier. Yeah, but I was young and naive. And they were telling me, no, quitting is unprofessional and all of that. If you are in such a situation and you are asking your employer for help because you are sexually harassed and threatened and stalked and your employer doesn't do anything, get out of there, because your safety is so much more important than anything else. If you have a situation like that in your workplace and you feel that you're in danger and your employer is not doing anything, get out of there. Quit right away, get out of there. I wish I would have done that. Yeah, and that's also what I want to give you as an advice, guys. Don't trust strangers. Stranger danger. I wish I would have kept that in mind from my kindergarten days. Stranger danger. Do I think now you should not help others in general? No, I don't think that. I think you should help others. But I think you should be aware that they are stranger danger and that you have to protect yourself at the same time. You have to stay safe while helping others. And that's what I plan to do in the future. If there's someone you don't know that well, maybe you can help them just a little bit in the beginning. And then see how that goes. I still believe that you should always treat the people around you well. You should be kind to everyone, no matter how well you know them. But you should definitely let people earn your trust. That's unfortunately an important step that I skipped with Frank. By getting him backstage to this band, by getting him a job at the theater where I worked. Yeah, and you see how that turned out for me. I wish I wouldn't have done that. So if I wouldn't have been so trusting, without any reason to trust him, yeah, maybe a lot of this wouldn't have happened. Help others, be kind, but don't trust them too fast. That's what I take away from that. I also want to tell you the positive side, what I experienced in this situation, in this bad situation. Of course, in a situation like this, you also see who your true friends are. I mean, I knew anyway that I have amazing friends in Finland and in Germany. But it was really sweet how they cared for me, how they were there for me. Because I had just moved to LA. All the friends in LA were new friends. And when you're just developing a friendship, you're not, I mean, you don't want to come at them with so much drama and say, hey, there's a stalker and he just said that he knows where I live and that he wants to hurt me. Can we talk? I know it's 3 o'clock in the morning, but can we talk? Do you have a minute? That's not what you do to new friends. And the fact that he threatened me publicly on Facebook was bad, of course. But the good thing that came out of that is that I got a lot of support from there. Because that was the way how his former victims found out that he is coming after me right now. And that's also the way some of the victims reached out to me and told me their stories. What helped me a great deal. I'm also using Facebook as a business tool. Of course, it's nice to stay in touch with my big hippie family that is spread all over the world. And it is nice to see when my sweet cousin in Canada had baked beautiful cookies again. She always posts pictures and I like to see that. It makes me happy. But I also use Facebook to stay in touch with people I work with. Like directors, producers, music people like promoters, a band manager. All the people I work with, comedy bookers. And of course, some of these people noticed it too when Frank threatened me publicly on Facebook. And also, they reached out to me. It also felt very good when some of the music people were reaching out to me asking, is this guy stalking you? you know what, for every concert where you will do an interview for us, we will blacklist him so that you can work in peace. And that also meant really a lot to me, because I actually stopped going to some concerts and some events. And not the ones where I had already interviews scheduled, but there were some concerts where Alison invited me. And I told her at some point that I just don't want to come because I know Frank will be there and I'm scared of him. But it really got to a point where I was scared to go out. And it was a really big step for me to go out to party for my birthday at the Rainbow. Because I was also scared that Frank will find out and show up there. And but I'm glad that I did, because it also helped me to take back my power. I also made this video in November to take back my power, because I felt that my life is out of control. I felt that someone else had taken control of my life and could control if I am scared or if I'm happy or if I dare to go out. I was not going out anywhere anymore if I didn't have to. It felt to me when I was making this video in November that it helped me to regain control over my life and to take back my power by telling my story and by giving this video as a testimony to my friends. And as I said, guys, one of the biggest reasons for me to now dare to share my story with you and in this way and publicly on YouTube is that I want to help other victims, because it helped me so much when these other women and girls reached out to me to share their stories with me. It helped me incredibly much, because I could see that they got through this. And the fact that they were victims of the same stalker who was stalking me helped me even more, because he had threatened them in a very similar way. He threatened me. It was the same stuff he threatened me with. But in the end, he didn't end up hurting these women physically. Knowing that helped me so much. I also want to tell you a bit about what the other victims experienced with my stalker. There were in total 5 brave, wonderful women sharing their stories with me, sharing their experiences that they had with this same stalker with me. They all shared their stories with me confidentially. And 2 of them don't want me to share their stories with you because they are scared that Frank will watch this and will recognize them and come after them again. The 3 other brave victims that came forward to contact me and to tell me about their experiences are okay with me sharing their stories with you. And I think that helps, because I fear that there are more victims out there. So now I want to tell you a bit about what my stalker did to these 3 women. All of the other victims that reached out to me are in the performing arts too. The other 3 brave victims who came forward to share their stories with me and who allowed me also to share their stories with you, they were all members of the same band, of an all-female band. One is the drummer, the second one is the guitarist, and the third is the bass player. They met Frank 10 years ago because back then Frank was working as a booker for a show in a certain club in LA. And he booked their band. And he made it seem like, I am so generous to give you a chance because nobody else would give a small band like yours a chance. And what he did to them was very similar to what he did to me. His first victim was the guitarist. He just started harassing her and treating her very, very poorly. She didn't even want to go into detail. But she said she was treated in a way that she went to her bandmates and said, this is my last gig here. And I don't want to be here ever again when this guy is here. And then Frank went to the drummer, who was also the band leader, and said, your guitarist is a bitch. I know so many great musicians. I will get you a better guitarist who is not a bitch. So he basically tried to kick her out of the band. That's so similar to what he did to me. That's what all the girls said to me. He tries to find the thing that will hurt you most. That's exactly what he did to me. He tries to figure out a way to hurt you most, to cause maximum damage. He tries to find the thing that will hurt you most. In my case, my sensitivity for the topic of rape and sexual assault. And then he tries to use that. Or he tries to figure out what you love most and to take that away from you. Like, in my case, taking away the opportunity to perform. Taking this great play away from me by threatening me so much that I had to quit. Or, in this case, by trying to kick the guitarist out of the band. His second victim was the drummer. He, at some point, got really mad at her because I think he also liked her and, she didn't like him back. Sounds familiar, huh? What he did was, right when she had to go on stage to perform, like 5 seconds before the gig was supposed to start, he blocked her way on stage and yelled at her. And I think it was about the fact that she had booked gigs in other clubs too, because the band was actually very good. And they had offers from other clubs too. And he got really, really mad because she had worked with other bookers. His third victim, the bass player, probably hit it the worst because she was only 15 years old. The other two were in their 20s, but the bass player was only 15 years old. And she was naive like me, and she gave Frank her phone number. And then Frank didn't stop calling her. And he started calling her in the middle of the night. And she was 15. And Frank is 50 now, so 10 years ago he was 40. So when Frank was 40, he stalked this 15-year-old girl. And for weeks he started calling her in the middle of the night. And she was totally desperate because she was scared to tell her parents, because she was scared that they would then say, no, you cannot be in this band anymore. And she was 15 and she had to be in school the next day. And he called her like at midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning. But that sounds so familiar to what he did to me. And it actually helped me a lot. Of course, I feel so sorry for these 3 girls and also for the other 2 who don't want their stories shared, that they had to go through this too. But it helped me so much that he also threatened them to hurt them, but he never did. He never really got physical, besides like maybe wrist grabbing and pushing and yelling. But he never really like punched someone in the face or attacked them with a weapon. And I could see that they got through this and that Frank moved on at some point to find a new victim. And actually what this band did, and I think it was great, they still wanted to do gigs in this club, and they just booked with other bookers for other nights in the same club on the same stage. For the good nights, like Friday and Saturday, and he told them, no, you can never get that, you're not good enough. But they got it. Great job, girls, and thank you so much for sharing. And what is also very interesting about what the other 5 victims told me is that apparently already 10 years ago, Frank told them that he was close to being evicted from his home and that he really needed money and that it would be their fault if he would get evicted. And he also wanted them to pay for his food because he said he didn't have money to buy food. And by the way, once when I bought him food, there was a receipt that fell out of his pocket. And it showed that he had, the same day, he had bought records for $200. I just want to say that to you 5 brave girls who came forward to share their stories with me. Thank you so, so much. That helped me so much. And that also gave me the courage to share my story now with everyone out there who is watching and who might need help and who might be in a similar situation. That's because of you, girls. And I'm so happy that I got to meet you and that I got to talk to you and that you had the courage, that you found the courage to reach out to me and help me to find my courage and to get through this. That helped me such a great deal to get through this, and I will eternally be grateful for that. Yeah, now you know a little bit more of the spectrum that I am as a person and as an artist. And I really, really want you to see that things like this can happen to you and you can still have a normal life. Okay, normal is a stupid category for my life anyway, but that you can have a happy life. You can feel like yourself again. You can be happy again. And I want to show that to you guys. Oh no, I'm starting to cry again. But guys, I really want to tell you from all of my heart, if you are going through a situation like this right now, whatever, stalking, or if you've been a victim of sexual assault or harassment or whatever, I know that it can make you feel like you lost the person you were, or you're not yourself anymore, or you feel like you can never get through that and you can never be happy again. But that's not true. Look at me. Okay, now I'm crying, but it's more because I feel for you guys who went through this too. I am good again now. I am happy. And I want you to know you can get through this too. And I promise to you it will get better. Even if it might not look like this in some moments. It will get better, I promise you. And I wish you all the power and the strength that you need to get through this. And I also want you guys to know, during these weeks and months when I felt so bad, I want you to know how much your sweet, friendly, funny comments mean to me, how much they meant to me back then and how much they mean to me. It really helped me because I felt this is a little happy place that makes a lot of people happy, and that is something that the stalker cannot take away from me. And I mean it with all of my heart, guys. I love you. I love each one of you guys and never stop dreaming.